Level up your game with Corsair, the global leader in high-performance gear for gamers, content creators, and PC enthusiasts. From award-winning PC components to premium streaming equipment, smart lighting, and esports coaching services, Corsair delivers an ecosystem designed for peak performance. Whether you're a casual gamer or a pro, alleviate your setup with Corsair. Shop now at Corsair.com. That's Corsair.com. Corsair. At Tusain's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes,
facts, boots,
and other stuff. Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by the, well, I guess I could have thought of a nickname that started with M and somehow related to the end of the year, but I didn't. It's just Mike.
Yeah, it's just me. It's just Mike. How are you?
Yeah, wow, what a very uneventful.
That's okay. That's okay. Because you know what? This time of year is about winding down, getting towards the end of the year. You know, it doesn't have to be fancy. We just need to get there, right? And we've got, I don't know, a few days left, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
By the time
a couple. This so Monday. So honestly, what, Wednesday's New Year's Eve?
Wednesday is New Year's Day.
Wednesday's New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
yeah. So, Tuesday is New Year's Eve.
So this is the 30th.
Do you have big plans for New Year's Eve?
I do not.
I'm looking the other direction. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I
do not.
You don't. Well, with the baby and all, I would imagine that's a little hard. He's not drinking yet, right?
No.
Okay, thankfully. That's good. I had sent my wife an entire list of things we could possibly do for New Year's Eve, and she sent me back something saying, "I'm okay staying home. I promise." And okay, well, great, sure. I think it's more about the effort. Yeah. Right. I made the effort. I looked for things. But yeah, when it all comes down to it, sitting home and going to bed at, 10:30 is
I'll stay up
probably
midnight.
where we're at.
I will. I think we've talked about that. I'll do that at least. But yeah, no, that's about it.
Yeah. You'll go and you'll watch for the ball.
Yeah. Well, I won't even watch the ball. I'll just look at my clock. Maybe even if I can see into the kitchen from the oven and be like, "Oh, hey, it's midnight."
I can see into the kitchen from the oven.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't need to. I don't need to see a ball drop to know that it's a new year.
Mike. Well, it's silly, right? Because they go, "Oh, look, it did it in Australia. Oh, look, New York. Oh, now it's Central Time. Oh, now it's on the West Coast."
Yeah.
It's all the same, folks. There's nothing different going to happen.
I know. It's just now it's 2025 for us, essentially. Even though it's really, I don't know, but yeah, no plans whatsoever. But I thought we kind of talked about this last week. This would be a great show for us to kind of do. We did it last year, our year in review of just kind of go over and cover the things that we looked at this past year here on Bros. And I'll ask for a couple of, I guess, kind of year-end awards at the end of all this once we go through our list of just your favorite, your least favorite, and then maybe the one that surprised you the most or just kind of you're like, oh, that's better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Something like that. We'll piece that together at the end.
Got it.
But we'll go ahead and kick it off. And I can tell you, we spent all of the month of January last year covering 2017's Mr. Miracle by Tom King and Mitch Gerards. That was something that I absolutely loved.
It seems like it was just the other day.
I know,
it doesn't seem like that long
ago. A year ago. Yeah, January.
Wow.
We spent the whole month. We broke down 3 issues every week because it's a whole 12-issue series. And honestly, I like when we're able to do that because it helps us be able to kind of dive deeper into some of these stories and see the full thing. But it is still my favorite comic book series that I've ever read. It's a standalone story there. I can't recommend it enough. And so we went ahead and covered it, and I
It
got
was
to share
very
it with
good.
Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. Very good.
So,
very good. And again, I had zero information on it.
Yeah.
So that I like that going into those with that.
And that's usually kind of how it is here with Mike, though. I feel like, unless, I mean, there's sometimes you have a little bit of
This is
just,
how it is with Mike. He has
I'm not
zero
saying that you don't have
information
zero
about
information,
anything. Yeah.
but like there's a lot of stuff that you just kind of do know about comic books in general,
Yeah.
or like, characters and stuff. But some of it you're just like, yeah, no, just completely,
Yeah.
a blank slate. February we played some old romance comics we had covered in years past, and also covered some new romance comics. Those are always ridiculous.
Love
I know
those.
one that we did involved Bosco the Bear. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that.
I do remember Bosco.
I think Baby New Year might have been in there too. It was a weird. You should go back and listen to those. Those are always fun and ridiculous. We broke it down, kind of covered it when it came out, but I'll put it all together. We wrapped up issues 3 through 6, so really of a 6-issue series, the bulk of the series in 2024, and that was Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, which was also another really good story that we covered this year.
Really well written.
Um,
and able to evoke emotion with only pictures rather than it didn't all have to be super dialogue heavy.
No.
Yeah,
I do
fun.
think the dialogue in there was really good. I know we talked about the lettering in there and how they used like all of the page and used it in unique ways. If it
Yep.
would break down into other panels. For the
And
sound
we've run
effects and
into
stuff.
that into a lot of the newer ones,
We
you
have,
know,
and
and
it's been really cool how they do it. Yeah. But the story in general is just really good too. You really, even in just 6 issues, you kind of feel certain ways for these characters. And if you haven't, go back and listen to it or pick it up and read it. I think they have it all out together now in a trade paperback version where all 6 are collected, but it is worth the read. It was a really good one.
And
there.
it's, bringing that up, have you watched any of that? God dang it, I'm looking the wrong
I do
person.
that too. You look at me and I look at you
have
too.
you looked at any of
Hey, there we go.
I'm just going to let you guys know he is not over here, but I'm going to try my best to look over here like he is. So have you watched or even thought about watching any of the like Dexter Original Sin stuff now that we're talking the Beneath the Trees?
Yeah, no, because that is very kind of like Dexter-ish.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I never finished the first series. I'm probably not going to watch I'm not big on watching like these reboots or these not reboots, but like the prequel kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes I think we've said enough with certain stories. I say that knowing that we cover comics right now, which has a hard time of, they're still around because they tell the same, different stories about the same characters. But yeah,
now I'm gonna tell you about something that I watched just the other day. That it really doesn't have anything to do with comics, but I'll bring it back around here in just a second.
Okay.
So there's a movie out there called Heretic with Grant. What's his name? Grant
Chester.
What's his name? Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant.
Oh, you said Grant. Like,
well,
name.
Grant. It's got Hugh Grant in it, and he is the de facto bad guy in this thing, and it's kind of it's an A24 movie, but it's supposed to be a horror movie. I would say it's more of a psychological thing than horror most of the time, but it's about every religion ever, and the unique thing about it is the way that the story is told. It reminded me of kind of a comic series or something. It seems like it could have been a comic series very easily because it gets into this dialogue heavy part of it, but it's more like a cerebral thought on religions. And then it turns, bad. But it all takes place kind of in one place, which I really enjoy. And just the, you had said something about the fact that it, comics are still around because they're still the same stories about the same guys and all that kind of stuff, the same heroes and things, just different ways of telling it. That's how this felt to me. Like when they started talking about all the different religions and all the ways that they're all the same, same characters, same stories, all this kind of stuff. So anyway, Heretic, if you get a chance, watch that. Very good.
Okay.
Very, very
there you
good.
go.
Enjoyed it a lot. And if you like comics, you'll probably like it because of that. It feels like it could be a graphic novel.
All right, there you go.
Yeah,
glowing
very good
endorsement from Mike.
There you go. There's a 24 for you.
Yeah, there's a 24 for
an A24.
Also in February, we had a double feature of Wolverine Revolver
Mm.
and Sweetmeats.
Wolverine Revolver, is that the one where he looks all weird?
Yeah, with the really
Yeah.
big gums.
Didn't like that.
Yeah,
Nope. Sweetmeats, that
Sweetmeats
didn't happen.
was bad.
I'm just going to retcon that now and say it didn't happen.
Ooh, yeah, go back and just.
Nope. Didn't happen.
That was one of the most interesting. Well, yeah,
I think we both had a severe fever.
maybe. Was it induced by it?
Nah, I think it never really happened. We just thought it did.
Like when it was
Yeah.
all a dream.
It's the Dallas situation.
Mason and I did Spider-Man One More Day.
Oh, yeah.
And that was obviously a Spider-Man title that a lot of people do not like. And Mason and I were able to kind of dive into
Why do
that.
they not like it?
So you never went back and listened. All right, that's nice to know. It's essentially the story of Spider-Man and Mary Jane selling or giving up their relationship to Mephisto, who is like essentially the devil of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So they like sell or give their relationship to the devil so that Aunt May doesn't die.
That's right. Okay.
And they forget, they forget about each other.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Mephisto got a lot of mention in that Agatha series.
Yes.
A lot of mention of Mephisto in that. Never saw him.
But just mentions of him?
Lots of mentions, though. Yeah, yeah. So I'm thinking if anything goes forward, that Mephisto's showing up.
He might.
Yeah, be very nice.
I'm so out of touch with the Marvel stuff.
I enjoyed Agatha all along. I thought it was very good.
I'm sure. I'm already full on board the DC train. I am caught up on Creature Commandos. I've watched the Superman trailer like 27,000 times.
Yeah.
And,
I showed that to my father over Christmas, and he goes, "Huh, looks good." That was about it. That's all I got from him. Yeah.
Well, looks good, isn't bad.
All right. Whatever.
Now
I will. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but this is the man that got me out of school in the 5th grade to go see the original Christopher Reeve Superman in the middle of the day. So, he used to be fun.
Well, still, he said it looked good.
So. We went to see 3 movies in one day after they got me out of the school one day. And for a little kid, 3 movies in one day, that's a lot of movies.
Yeah.
No, but you also feel like, oh, shit, this is really special,
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So anyway,
one
of them was Romancing the Stone. So I don't know how far that goes.
Never seen that one, though.
Yeah.
Was it good?
It's all right.
We also went through and we had a I don't want to call it like a we had a series, I guess, if you want to do it. If we did what I called Superman stories that don't suck.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people think that Superman can be. That's the thing, is I feel like I've come to learn a lot more, at least with myself, of how I view Superman as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And to which he's one now that is easily my favorite. And I think that if you
is your favorite?
Yeah, he
really?
might be. Huh. Yeah. He's up there. I don't know. I see the character in a completely different light now than I did 2 years ago. For sure than I did like when we started this podcast. There was a time when we started it that I remember I did Superman at Earth's End just so we could purposely cover a bad Superman story because I just did not like him.
Yep.
Here's the thing. When he is written well and you understand how, some of these people see the character and what the character can mean, then it's top notch. But so we focused on stories that kind of fell into that realm of that are just absolutely fantastic stories to try to show some of the good there in Superman was my goal. And in that time, we covered Alan Moore's Superman, where we covered 2 separate stories. There was the one about For the Man Who Has Everything, and also the story of Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which were both really good. Then we covered Action Comics 775, which was a Joe Kelly Superman story about what's so funny about truth, justice, and the American way, which has to deal with the my goodness, it's Manchester Black. They're like a standing group for the Authority. And I can't think of their name right now, but still very good story there. Then we also did Kingdom Come by Mark Waid, and then it has Alex Ross art, which anytime we get to look at anything that has Alex Ross art, I absolutely love.
Kingdom Come was pretty amazing.
I loved Kingdom Come as a story, just the whole project, the scope of it. Like, it looks the story's big and grand, and it looks that way because of the art too. It's
Yeah,
just all
yeah.
very great.
Sure.
But I would say that it's a very good version of Superman in there too, and so that's why we covered it.
Superman doesn't have to be this geeky Boy Scout. You
No,
know, he's just
but it's part of his. I get how it can be part of his charm, though.
sure. And it feels like we're coming around to that pendulum swing again with Superman.
Yeah, he looks nerdy, and I like
You know, to where now he's just a good guy, you know, and he's misunderstood
Mhm.
and things like that. I think that all the things that make a superhero good
Yes.
to watch or to read, you know, the fact that they are a little complex and they're not just a two-dimensional character.
No, I completely
It's about
agree
as
with you
deep
there.
as you're going to get from me.
That's hey, I'll take
Yeah.
it. I'll take it. That's as deep as
Yeah,
we're gonna
that's
get.
it.
We then did a lighthearted Superman story as we had the story about when he was a tax evader. Remember, and he had to pay the guy.
I do remember that.
He
Yeah.
owed $1 million in back taxes.
Uh-huh.
Bizarro turned all of the ivory that he found at that
Uh-huh.
elephant graveyard into ivory soap. Like,
Yep.
It's everything you could have hoped for a Silver Age Superman tale. Also, though, we
God,
had
I'm
the
hoping
pleasure.
for Bizarro. I am hoping for Bizarro.
We had the pleasure of being able to interview Reed Tucker.
Yeah, that was
and
fucking
his
cool.
book and talk about his book Slugfest about the battle between DC and Marvel, and it was just absolutely, it's a fantastic book that I can't recommend enough. And we got to talk to him, and that was so fun to do. We then came and looked back at a Batman story that was similar to Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which was Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader, which was a Neil Gaiman story.
Yeah.
That was, Batman essentially attending his own funeral,
Right.
but was really cool to see like all these different stories that they would tell there then about Batman.
Well, all the bad guys that showed up.
All the bad guys
Yeah.
that showed up, like
Yeah.
Clayface even talking about how Batman like saved him kind of
Yeah.
instead of.
Yeah.
So a really great issue there. We covered a lot of good stuff, I'm realizing this year. Then we looked at Booster Gold and kind of dove into him a little bit.
Looking forward to that too, just
yes.
simply because now I have just a tiniest bit of knowledge about him.
Yeah.
You know, so when they do start the series, I don't feel like I'm starting from scratch.
For sure. And we covered the Jeff Johns run a bit, which was a fantastic read. If you want to go back and check that out. We also then looked at something that I grabbed for Mike because I knew he'd like it. We covered Space Ghost #1.
Yeah.
The ongoing series this year. You can go pick it up, but we covered issue #1 because we love Space Ghost here.
Gleek? Is that right?
The monkey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His name's
right?
Gleek, right?
Or is it Bleep? Bleep?
I always thought it was Gleek
Hold on.
because it's like the spit
I
that
think
comes
you're
out of your
right.
mouth from under your
I think
tongue.
you're right. His name is Blip.
Blip. Well, that's not near as exciting.
Gleek the monkey. Is that something?
Is Gleek the monkey a
Gleek
thing?
is from isn't he the Super Friends? He's the Wonder Twins monkey.
Yes, that's it. Okay. I always get those two mixed up because I mean it's two monkeys.
Blip's cooler, I think.
Okay.
But that's just me. We then covered,
We're not here to downgrade monkeys.
we went back into the 40s and covered a very unique superhero by the name of the Red Bee.
Yeah.
And the reason we covered the Red Bee is because the next week we did Peacemaker Tries Hard, which has obviously been our most popular thing we have ever covered here.
It was fun as hell. Yeah.
And it is a
it was a great one.
fantastic story. And I will tell you that it makes me happy to know. I go back, I was telling Mike the other day, and watch some of these James Gunn talking about the Easter eggs in these Creature Commando episodes. And he talked about sometimes like they try to throw in all these characters that are locked up in this, like prison area. And he's like, I don't know if this person is somebody or it's just a character they made or it's somebody they're trying to squeeze by me. He goes, but I know that person right there. That's for sure Chemo, which is one of the guys there in the Peacemaker Tries Hard series. So James Gunn to me has read the Peacemaker Tries Hard. Like that's what I'm going off with that.
You
Unless he takes
mofos,
Chemo from somewhere else.
you mofos out there in the real world, you love you some Snowflame.
Yes.
I will tell you that. You guys
What's
love
not
that
to love about
Snowflame.
Snowflame?
Well, I mean, he's a cokehead, but other than that,
We
yeah,
have-
sure.
We have covered, I think there's one appearance of Snowflame I know we haven't covered. And he's not as over the top as he was in his original one there, New Guardians, or as
You wouldn't
he
have to try
is-
real hard not to be.
But he like auctions off like it's a Catwoman story, and I
Oh.
think he like acquires like all these bad guys like weapons and stuff. And he like auctions them off,
Okay.
but he does. I think it ends with like a fight between him and Catwoman, which he has to take a couple bumps for.
Sure.
But
Sure.
not a lot of Snowflame out there. But maybe we'll cover it just so we can cover all of
Snowflame.
Snowflame.
You mofos love your Snowflame.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. He's hilarious. We then went and looked at Deadpool because we had Deadpool and Wolverine coming out later in that year, but we did Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe.
That was fun.
Then we looked at a Spider-Man story where Doc Ock tried to marry Aunt May.
That was anti-fun, but yeah, sure. Yeah.
We then followed that up with a Batman story where Batman hated rock and roll, and the musician talked to a blonde ghost of Elvis.
That was probably, we've read a lot of stupid Batman things in the past, but some of them are only goofy because they're old, right?
Yeah.
This was not.
It was like 1999, I think. Is when it
This
came
was
out.
written to like be cool with the kids or whatever, and boy,
Punk
did it
is nothing
miss.
but the rage.
It missed the
Damn.
mark so hard. Yeah, that
It's
was rough.
it's funny though.
It
It
is
was
funny. It's
entertaining.
great. It's great.
We then looked at some Silver Age stories, including I wrote down Tiny Superman because
Oh,
we had the
yeah.
one where his
Where he
new
shot out
power
of
that
his
he got,
fingers.
he shot one tiny Superman out of his fingers to go. It like took care of all the crime.
That's the stupidest power ever.
We then went and a little detective-y kind of the Sam Spade or Johnny Dollar and looked at Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
As we took a look at the I guess the origin of Spider-Man back in the 1930s, essentially.
That was pretty cool.
That was
Yeah.
the different takes
Yeah.
on the characters then was really cool. Then we went and we finally covered something I'd wanted to look at for a long time and was finally able to read and enjoyed it fully. Not only the art, the story, all of it, but that was Hellboy. We did Seed
Oh,
of
yeah, that
Destruction,
was
which
very
was the
good.
first
Yeah.
story arc that Mike Mignola did. I think we also covered the first appearances there too.
Have you watched
but-
Crooked Man?
Not yet.
Yeah,
I've
I
heard good
haven't
things
either.
about it though.
I need to. Yeah.
But so we had Hellboy, which was fantastic. Then we got Batman Damned, which the art by Lee Bermejo looked absolutely gorgeous. Story by Brian Azzarello there. A very interesting.
Is
You
this
don't
Bat
remember much?
Dick?
Huh?
Is this Bat Dick?
That is Bat Dick.
Yeah. Okay.
There was more to it, obviously, than that. That's what a lot of
Really,
people
it's all Bat
want to
Dick.
remember it for. But we got some really cool looks at like Swamp Thing looks cool in it. We got this like
Didn't see his dick.
Enchantress is no, we didn't
Didn't see
it
her
either.
privates.
It's like blurred out now and everything,
Yeah.
but we talked about it. We then covered some more Silver Age stories at around this time because we started our World's Finest Wednesdays.
World's Finest Wednesday.
I don't have any of those stories in our year in review because I kind of kept it
Yeah,
over there
they're-
on World's Finest.
Oh, they're so easy.
What it is, if you
simple.
don't know, if you just listen to the show here, is every Wednesday, or we try to every Wednesday, we look back at usually a Silver Age, DC, or Marvel tale. A lot of them started out and usually will continue to be from World's Finest because they're just some fun, goofy Batman and Superman stories. So hence the name World's Finest Wednesdays.
Superman's
but
dead. We're gonna sell off all his parts.
that is
Yeah, that was
that
one of
was
them.
one of them.
Yeah.
And then we'll install them in other people.
And then was that the one where Batman pretended to be Superman or vice
There was
versa?
one yeah, where they
Or was that a
pretended
different
to be,
story?
No, there was one they pretended to be each other, but Batman they thought he died in an
God
explosion.
almighty.
So Superman pretended to be the ghost
So
of Batman.
stupid.
They painted him in white, and then Batman pretended to be Superman.
Not only
But
am
so
I
it
the
looked
ghost
like he
of
could
Batman,
fly.
but now I'm completely white because of that.
Batman or Superman had to pick him up very quickly, so you
Yeah.
couldn't see him like flying
Yeah.
around. It was
Oh my.
that was great. So we
my.
but around that time we started that, I covered another Silver Age story, which we got a kick out of, which was Aquaman Goes to College.
Oh, that's the one where he's in the tub.
He was on the swim team. Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah.
the city
He's
water.
like in his dorm room. He's sitting there in a freaking tub
No,
in
while
the middle of the
octopus is hanging
room.
stuff, posters and stuff on his wall.
because he just had to stay wet
Yeah.
all the time. So
And then he was in the water tower and stuff too.
and we did have a discussion as to whether you could just pee on Aquaman and that would keep him hydrated.
Yeah,
enough.
well, there's that one time, the other Silver Age stories that we covered back with Tiny Superman.
yeah,
There was the one where we had another Aquaman story where he got dumped in the desert.
yes,
And
do
remember,
remember
the octopus milked a cow into a trough, and he's
Yes.
setting a milk bath to
yes,
regain his strength.
yes. The octopus did. Yes,
Yeah, the
It's-
octopus did.
yes,
You should go back and check those
yeah.
out.
Please go
They're-
check
they're a
that out.
blast.
Those are fun.
We also covered the beginnings of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We looked at the very
Yeah.
first issue that Eastman and Laird
All
did.
the old black and white ones.
Yeah, I love the way it looks.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very cool.
but also got to see that, Shredder only lasted the first issue. Then I'm
Mhm.
assuming that he comes back later, obviously, but
Shredder
we
2.
then looked at Clayface kind of as a whole. We covered just briefly over some of the origins, but we really dove into the One Bad Day storyline.
Yeah,
And I saw
that was good.
and I saw somebody on Reddit point out that when he posted, because they have greenlit a Clayface movie
Right.
for Warner Brothers that Mike Flanagan wrote.
Right.
And when James Gunn announced it, he used art from One Bad Day.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if we're getting a take on that of where he's like supposed to be related, like he's a bad guy, but you like kind of understand why, like, I don't know. It could be really good. We'll have to wait and see what that ends up being like. My phone closed out on me while we were doing that. We're coming down to the end of the
I
year.
am looking forward to anything else that's like Penguin was excellent.
Yes.
I thought it was such a great series. And so anything that Matt Reeves wants to bring us in that same general universe, that sounds great to me. I'm all for it. And now there's talk of Pattinson being the Batman.
Well, I don't think Matt Reeves is doing it though.
He is. He's like producing it or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I think it's there, like I say, there's talk of Pattinson being the Batman in the James Gunn DC universe now.
There is. I like the way they look together. I don't know if
Yeah, I know. It's a different kind of
like I'm fine with it. Here's the thing is we would have to be, and I'm cool with it, is in those movies he acts serious, and
Yeah.
when he's with Superman, he doesn't
Yeah.
act as serious. And us just be like, yeah, that's the same Batman.
I
Or
don't-
because people, I feel like people would be mad if they like if Batman's a little more lighthearted around
Sure.
Superman. But I feel like that I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, we kind of got into
hang on one second. I would be okay with a separate Batman, one
Preach.
that would be in the James Gunn averse.
yes.
Just simply because I think you could maybe get into the blue and gray and black Batman, which might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
If anybody can make that look cool again, it would be Gunn.
I really like the light blue. Always
Well, I
have.
do too, but I'm saying, it's so tarnished by the 60s, that's immediately what you think of when you see that now.
A little bit, but
Because all your all your Batmans are black, and brooding and all
Yeah.
of this now. Well,
Very
let's
dark
take a
eye
turn
in
and
the
go back
night.
to something
that's
fun.
true. Let's go back a little camp.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be a full camp, but just a little campy.
Bat Dog.
Ace the Bat Hound is actually his name.
Thank you so much.
We got into a little bit of Halloween stuff as we covered volume 1 of Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah, that was good.
We took a break from that though to look at the first issue of Absolute Batman, which came out this year. They're already on issue 3. We haven't had time to catch back up to it, but that was the new Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta Batman that is out there now, where Alfred
THSCC
works
Batman.
for the Batman who lifts.
Thick ass Batman.
Alfred's an MI6 agent now.
Yeah.
All of his rogues gallery are his best friends, kind of like it was a cool jumping on point. We really enjoyed
That was good.
issue 1.
Still good,
I'd
yeah.
recommend checking it out if you haven't.
I mean,
yet.
there's no Bat Dick in it, but still, it was good.
He might act like a dick. No, he does.
Sure.
I mean, but we then also covered on Halloween itself. We released Saga of the Swamp Thing Volume 1. We kind of looked at the
Yeah.
first story in a way of Alan Moore's story there of Swamp Thing. And
Swamp
mainly
Thing can be
focus
very
on-
cool.
Oh, it could,
It can be.
but focusing mainly on that first issue with the Floronic Man of just from the anatomy lesson and on. It's great horror. It's so well written. It's just great from top to bottom. Then we did a couple of weeks where we took multiple weeks covering a larger story back to back. We did Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which I absolutely love.
It was excellent.
And if you listen to any of the press that James Gunn has done lately, somebody asked him why, because Supergirl wasn't supposed to be the second movie in the schedule, and asked him why that was. And he essentially said, like, I got the script and it was so good, like we moved it up.
Yeah.
Like I knew it was going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's based off of, from everything we can tell, this comic series. I'm sure they'll, change it up some.
It'd be
but
excellent if that's what they do.
but-
Like you said, they've already cast most of the people.
we've cast. We
Yeah.
have our Ruthie. We have our Crim
Yeah.
of the Yellow Hills. We have our Supergirl.
Yeah.
Like they can change
gotta
it
be, yeah.
still, but
Yeah.
this is, I mean, the journey and the two of them, like the whole book is mainly about to me the relationship between Supergirl and Ruthie, but it does such a good job of telling like heartfelt, like deep stories to get that point across and to show them grow.
The
So
other,
I'm very excited to see
the
what
other
they
thing
do
I
there.
want people to understand is, or at least this is the way it should be, as Gunn starts to use more comic book stories for his movies or for his TV series or whatever going forward, it's only gonna it's only going to make for better storytelling ultimately,
Mhm.
because there's going to be an arms race at some point where these writers are like, well, if I write something good enough, maybe he'll make it into a movie. I mean, there's got to be that race to excellence rather than just boom, let's make whatever.
I would, yeah, I would get that. That I think if you see like faithful adaptations being made like that, and just knowing that, hey, these great stories will do. I do feel like a lot of the Marvel stories, like for me, it's a lot of like the newer stuff that I didn't read that some of this is based off on. Like, yeah, some of it, like Civil War, is a story from 2009, right? Like, it's not
Right.
super old.
Right.
So I think it goes to show you that they can pull from anywhere, and they have already with a lot
Oh,
of this.
absolutely.
So I guess it does lead you to believe that, or well, if anything, here's also what I'll add. I think that good movies being made from these properties and establishing what those characters kind of are lead to potentially more or good, new, better stories being told
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like now that you define like, hey, this is who she is kind of here. Okay, well, I have a take on her like this that's still hopeful. Like that's the thing, is a lot of this, at least so far, not to say there's not going to be things that are going to bring you down, because we've seen the Guardians of the Galaxy. We know he's good at, tugging at heartstrings.
Right. Sure.
But it seems hopeful in a way. Like maybe it's the color palette that's used. It
Doesn't-
seems brighter.
Doesn't give me a ton of hope for Krypton sticking around forever.
No,
but
okay, not
yeah.
that. But I mean, like Superman himself, like it just,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think that
I'm very excited about it.
here lately we've kind of like diverged from what I think a good Superman is, and people love like an evil. They think like the only time he can be interesting is when he's evil.
Nope.
A la like a Homelander, or we have the Injustice comics and then the games and stuff where he's kind of like evil dictator
No,
Superman.
Don't need that.
But like those are good stories and can be fun to see. But I think he's better when he's not so hyper stylized, and when he shows up,
Yep.
it's not a fear that he brings,
Yep.
but it's hope.
I agree.
And that's what the trailer kind of made me think of more. So like my favorite scene from the whole thing, and this might be weird, I don't think it is, but it's where he saves the girl.
Yeah. Well, and
Like
think
just
about
the way they shot the wraparound and
think about the fact that he made a point of emphasis to show that in the trailer. That just tells you that this thing is about hope.
That's true. That's true.
It's about a more positive light than Mr. Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get something
Shit.
sad between Clark and Pa. Like that conversation they're having there does not seem like it's a fun
No, it doesn't seem like a
conversation.
great one. Seems like maybe there's something rough going on there.
Yeah.
But
But which makes me think more and more that this is gonna be like All-Star Superman, which
Could
we
be.
will cover this next year. Like I have it, we will cover this next year. I can kind of tease some of the things we'll cover here at the end. Just to wrap it up, then we did Daniel Warren Johnson's amazing to do a power bomb. We covered that
Yeah,
back
that
to
was
back
cool.
weeks. And then we wrapped it up last week with the Woolworths New Christmas book from 1954.
always love those.
And that was everything that we covered
But I was pissed in that it is the exact same story from the year before.
every year.
Just different characters. is
And
all
new
it is.
ads.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All
right. So awards.
awards.
What do you
So
got?
out of everything we covered, out of all those, what was your favorite?
My favorite was the Peacemaker series. It was just fun as hell.
Fair enough.
And it was cool to see the old characters come back and a bee lift weights and all that crap. I mean, that was great.
That
Yeah, I love that.
mine. I'm not going to say the obvious, which would be Mr. Miracle. Obviously,
Yeah.
I said it was my favorite when we dove into it.
Sure.
I will say it is a book that I read this year finally, and then we covered, and that was Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Yeah, it was very close with me with those two.
I will agree with Mike. I'm going to save that one though for later. Of another one I'm going to ask you about, but let's go ahead and let's look at the worst. Which one out of those? Not like
What do
when I
you
say
think?
worst,
What do you think?
Sweet Meat.
Yeah. See, there's not even a comparison.
Yeah,
You know,
Sweet Meat.
mean,
Sweet Meat was mine too.
I could talk about the Batman rock and roll thing because it was dumb as hell, but
some of it's just funny because of
but-
how like ridiculous. It
yes,
is.
Sweetmeat is just an awful comic that you're supposed to take
Like
serious.
eating babies.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
just
Oh, man.
that was rough. Yeah,
And she bit one of the dudes
And-
junk off. Like it was
that's been in my attic for like 20 plus years. So just letting you know.
until it saw the light of day and we covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about? I couldn't find a picture of the art anywhere
I
online
don't
for me to
doubt
make the
that.
cover.
Yeah,
Like all I could find was the cover.
it was made and then
Oh,
it
man. And
immediately
I read
outlawed.
that whole thing.
Yeah, it was rough.
There were other ones that I made a pile, Mike. I don't know if we might have talked about this a little bit. I made a pile of that stuff. I was like, oh, this looks fun and weird and quirky.
Sure.
After we did Sweetmeats, I pushed that pile away and I was like,
Yeah, I don't blame
know
you.
if I'm
I don't blame you. There's a lot of goofy stuff in there, and what we may do, you
give it
know, because
away.
I was talking about.
Or-
Well,
Sorry.
I was talking about how I would cover some and you could react sometimes.
Yes.
Well, maybe I dig into that pile,
Okay.
right?
Okay, that could
That's
be.
not a bad.
No,
yeah.
that's not a bad idea at
As we
all.
go,
I do like that.
Mike's moronic, comics or
we can
something
do.
like
Yeah,
that.
we'll
Yeah,
find a way to squeeze those in.
all
Don't call
the
it.
shit from up in my
Don't
attic.
belittle yourself like that, Mike. I was also then gonna.
Oh no, I
ask-
wasn't saying I was a moron. I was saying my
Oh, the
moronic
content.
comics.
Okay, my
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
I was gonna say then the next one I was gonna ask is which one surprised you the most, and for me,
Go ahead.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say that was the Peacemaker Trazhard
Yeah.
series. I thought that okay, I'm gonna go into this and they're going to write it like the series, and it'll
Yeah.
be okay,
Yeah,
but it'll feel like that. While it does feel like it's kind of the same Peacemaker, that's not the case at all. It
Yeah.
felt like it stood on its own completely. The writing was absolutely hilarious. The art was fantastic all the way through it. I can't like recommend it enough. Like I know that everybody, every time I make Peacemaker content, everybody seems to love it, and I get it because this series I can't praise enough. The only reason it didn't get the best thing I read this year was just because I've read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow so close here lately,
Yeah.
and I needed that like hope message when it hit, so it just like hit the emotional strings a little harder for me.
Yeah.
That Peacemaker Tries Hard, those 6 issues, it had everything. I laughed my ass off.
yeah.
I cried. I felt bad.
It was
for
very
people.
good.
You see people
Very
grow.
well
Like
done.
it's so good, and I cannot recommend it enough. So
Mine is kind of the opposite of yours
Okay.
in that after watching the Peacemaker series and not really knowing anything about him, then I kind of knew where the humor was going to come from,
Yes.
right?
Okay,
Going
yeah.
into it.
Mhm.
Supergirl, I had no clue.
Mhm.
So that would be the one that surprised me the most.
I get that.
Yeah, it was just a solid ass story with a character that you really liked, but was not perfect. And the art was great. Reminded me of a lot of stuff that I used to love. And to know that story, which is just a solid hired gun story, you can call it True Grit, you can call it whatever you
Yeah.
want. It's a hired gun story. To know that solid of a storyline is going to be what they're going to use for the movie is quite thrilling.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I'm stoked for that.
Yeah.
The other one that I can think of, and I don't know how I'm just making this up on the spot, is there something then what you feel that you learned from our show this year, from everything we covered? Is there something about one of the characters you didn't know before?
This is going to sound really stupid, but and
It doesn't have to be serious.
kind of simplistic, but don't judge a book by its cover.
Mhm.
And I know what I'm, again, this is a comic book show, but if I were to just thumb through a lot of these comics, there's no way I would ever read them.
Fair enough.
Right. But having covered them on this show, I feel like I know a little bit more of I have a little bit more of a well-rounded comic world.
Yeah, I get that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and that was, I mean, that's really sweet.
Thank you.
Mine wasn't going
I liked
to be
it.
as heartfelt as that. I was going to say that I learned that Batman apparently hates all music, especially like punk music and
He
rock and
does.
roll, because it's what played on the radio the night his parents went to go see The Mask of Zorro, and that's why
He
hates
hates
rock and roll
music, but he has a big old hog. So there you go.
That's true. That was damned. It wasn't the same one there.
Bad
But yeah,
hog.
Bat Hog.
No, I know it wasn't the same one, but they all run together. Come on. You're just picturing this dude with a giant hog hating rock and roll.
That is true.
You know, I mean, it's like,
Well,
God.
here's the thing. We covered Batman Damned after. So in that time, you were just like, why does he hate rock and roll?
Yeah.
You didn't know. Anyway, last thing I'll ask you before we close out, is there something that you want to cover this next year? I have some idea for stuff, and I'm just going to throw it out. I'm not going to tell you when, but it's things to look forward to this upcoming next year while you think of something else you might want.
I wouldn't say no to like a Ghost Rider thing because I
Okay.
really don't know that much about him, other than he's Nicolas Cage. And then
We can do better than that.
and then any kind of Sergeant Rock.
Okay.
You know?
That's what I was
That's
going to tell you.
That's it.
We were going to cover some Sergeant Rock at some point
Yeah.
in time.
It's probably garbage,
I'll add. Oh,
but it wasn't when I was a kid. You know what I mean? It was excellent when I was a kid.
I'm telling you, they're in James Gunn's DCU. They're
Yeah,
part
I
of
know
Creature
it. I
Commandos.
know it. It gets me excited, but I don't want to get too excited
That's all.
about it.
That's all GI Robot wants is another drink with Easy Company.
Well, GI Robot, I did watch the first 2 yesterday, and I do like the comedic relief with him just wanting to kill Nazis all the time,
Yep.
which is great.
Oh, so the next one is his story.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right. Looking
So
forward
you'll
to
get
it.
Sergeant Rock and I forget all of his other
Wait,
commandos.
they're
They
in it?
say him by name. Yeah. No, it has
Easy
a fla-
Company's in it?
it has a flashback to World War II.
Okay. All right.
If anything,
Okay.
Mike, just
now we
watch
know what
the
I'm doing
first-
tonight.
No, just watch the first 6 minutes. You see, Easy
No,
Company.
no. I don't do that. I'm not.
I'm just making sure you see it.
If I'm going in, I'll
Um,
go all the way in.
I'll probably throw in some old school Silver Surfer at some point in time.
Ooh.
And then there's some classics that I have sitting on my.
If you were
bookshelf.
to come across the Mobius Silver Surfer, I would not
Okay.
not refuse that.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind too.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
May. When's yours?
June.
Oh, that's right.
So a
You could
lot
have
of stuff to
one
look forward
birthday
to
spectacular.
with both of us together.
Yeah, like
we'll
like
just smush
maybe,
it together in Moon or
Right,
J.
right,
Yeah.
like right in the middle.
Yeah,
we
the
have to find
32nd, May 32nd.
Find find the one right in the middle, and we'll cover 2 things that we both love.
Also though, Marvel's the Kurt Busiek, Alex
Yeah.
Ross story,
Yeah.
which is kind of what Kingdom Come was for Marvel in a way.
Uh-huh.
Of just the big grand thing that is. It's a retelling of the origin. We'll cover that at some
That'll
point
be
in time. We haven't done Batman Hush, I realize, which I picked up in the DC Compact comic here recently. Along with, we are for sure going to cover Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman. The amount of parallels that I see between that story and just the trailer that James Gunn shot,
Yeah.
from the costume to the characters and
Yeah.
the character design to the scenes we're seeing. Because I talked about it earlier, to me, it looks like a scene of where Clark knows that something's up with his dad and he can't save him
Yeah.
no matter what he does. And that is a direct parallel from one of the issues in All-Star Superman. Like there's so
Yeah.
many things that just, I don't know.
What was
so
the
we're
one-
for sure going to cover that.
What was the one where Clark Kent was working on the farm, but it was a simulation?
That was Kingdom Come.
Okay.
He did it to kind of
That's what I
pretend
thought.
that he was,
Yeah.
Another one that we'll cover that'll be another great story that everybody seems to love is a Superman for All Seasons. Christmas gift that I bought myself that should be here
Oh.
soon too.
Sure.
So a lot of great stuff to look forward to in the new year, and we should have something hopefully New Year related on Wednesday for you for our World's Finest Wednesdays. But as always,
Just a naked baby with a sash.
that's it.
That's all you're getting.
We want to thank you guys for taking the time out to listen or watch. We always appreciate it. We really do. It means a lot to us, and also just can't thank you enough for it. We also would like to make sure to tell you to check out the other podcasts on the Rogue Media Network family of podcasts.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Hey, golly con, Bad Hog.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.